All right, so I just got done talking to this guy, Tom, the knee guy. So what's cool about this guy is he did double his income in like 30 days or like 6 weeks. But he's also like giving out good game on how to like niche down, find your thing, and just make more money on Twitter by doing less. So really cool episode. We just talk game. So hopefully you enjoy and see you. So for everybody who's not familiar with Tom, he has around 5,000 followers on Twitter. Now he closed, what, 8 clients in the last 6 weeks? How do you close 8 clients in 6 weeks?
I think most people, when they get on Twitter, they start talking, they talk about everything. Like, hey, here's what I had for lunch today. Hey, here's my thought on like a political matter. Hey, here's for me, it's like, here's a thought on knee pain. And when people go to your profile, they don't know like what you're about, and they get confused because you're talking about so many different things. And that was me for a little bit of time. Like I talked about ankle pain, knee pain, sprint training, diet, sleep, what I was watching TV, and it's just like they're like it's just like you're thinking out loud, and people are some of that is okay when you've established, but when you're new, you need to tell people like this is the one thing I do and I do it great. It's hard to be great at 10 things when you haven't been great at one. So the sooner you can figure out what's the one thing you're great at, the easier this whole game becomes, and that's what I found out. So
So like why knees? I'm always curious about why knees and not ankles.
Yeah, for me. So back in 2018, 2019, I was like you. Like I had knee pain and from working out or playing basketball, and it just wouldn't go away. And this was like months and months, years and years, and I was frustrated because like I'm a physical therapist, I have knee pain, I can't figure it out. And all of, like the traditional stuff that I would give my clients wasn't working, and I was like, okay, like maybe I don't know what I'm doing as well because my treatments aren't working for me. So I need to like dive deeper and figure out like how to solve knee pain. So I went to a couple different therapists and they gave me some stuff. It was helpful, but it didn't really solve the problem. It got to a point where I was so frustrated, I went and got an MRI because I was like, I think I'm going to need surgery.
Yeah, I did that
And
too.
yeah, and it's frustrating because like I was 27, 28 at the time, 26 maybe. And it's like I need knee surgery. Like, I can't do anything anymore. It's frustrating. I can't squat without pain. It was so frustrating because I could do everything else in my daily life. I could walk, I could do stairs, I could stand. But anytime I squatted, like my knee would just hurt. So I get to the point, like I get an MRI, and they didn't find anything like super wrong, and there wasn't really like a surgery to really be had. So I was like, okay, like I need to do something different. So over the next 6 months, 8 months, a year, like I'd spend a ton of time shadowing therapists I respected, listening to podcasts, buying ebooks, trying new things at the gym. And I finally found a bunch of things that worked a lot better than what I was using before. So
So
through
like
that, yeah,
just question on Twitter. So you started as like a general physical therapist, and then you rebranded to knees. So you had to like bounce back. How did you make that transition to be like maybe people just want me to talk about knees and become the knee guy?
yeah. So another thing is you look at the questions you're being asked, and like so many questions that were going through my DMs were knee pain, hamstring strains, ACL tears, jumper's knee. A lot of stuff was like knee related, or stairs, standing, sprinting, walking. Like my legs hurt, my knees hurt, my shins hurt. So that I was answering a lot of questions already, and it seemed like my community was interested in knees. And I'm more passionate about it too. Like I like treating some shoulders and things like that, but it's not like my true passion. Like I'm not a baseball player. I'm not gonna be talking about baseball and elbow and Tommy John and all of that. Like I like doing some of that stuff, but it's not gonna be like it's not where my true passion is. Like I like the lower body stuff a lot better. So it's a combination of my own experience and what people needed from me. And when you answer the same question, and I'm sure you've been through this, you answer the same question 500 times. It's like, okay, maybe I should just make a video of this and send them the link. Or maybe I should make like a product for this and start selling that. Or maybe I should just really focus on this one thing because people still don't know how to treat knee pain. And that's where that evolution kind of came from doing kind of everything, and no one really takes you serious, and then you start doing one thing and people they're like, you're the knee guy. And when you hear that, it's like, oh, sweet, let's go. And I'm sure
something
you found, yeah.
it's something I respect about the way you do things. It's a lot of people feel like they're putting themselves. How do you say this? Like they're limiting themselves too much. Does that ever cross your mind? As in, like, I guess the question I'm asking is, do you ever get bored of talking of knees?
So here's the deal. I'm trying to think of my journey, my career, kind of like Apple. When Apple first came out, they made, I think the iPod was their first product, right? Like they only did the iPod. And when you only focus on, maybe they did other stuff, but the main thing was iPod. When you only focus on the iPod and you made it so good, everyone wanted to do it. Now you can make iPhones. Now you can make MacBooks. Now you can make all this other thing that Apple's done. But unless you do the one thing great first, you can't do multiple things great. And for the longest time, I was trying to do 10 things great at once. I was trying to be a sleep coach. I was trying to be a sports performance coach, trying to be a therapist, trying to be a life. You're trying to do all these things, and like you're just not very good at all of them because you can't go deep enough in one to be an expert or to be viewed as an expert. So after a while, I was like, I'm sick of trying to do 10 things at once. I'm just going to pick one and go. And it feels limiting, but guess what? When people see you as the knee pain expert, they ask you about their ankle. They ask you about their back. They ask you about their shoulder. They ask you about their diet. They see you that once you're competent at one thing, you can help with all the things that are adjacent to it.
Yeah, that's so true. Like with celebrities, like because they're celebrities, people suddenly listen to them because of climate change.
Right.
Like they don't know anything about climate change, but like because they're good at one thing, they believe they're competent in other things.
Yeah. And you talked about this so well when you have like this blue arrow and you need to put everything in that blue arrow. So my blue arrow is knee pain. And I have to put all my juice into the arrow because I don't have much juice. Like 5,000 followers, only on Twitter focused right now. I have to put everything I have into this blue arrow to make it longer and bigger. If I start talking about other things, it's away from the arrow. And I don't have enough juice or power or help to do that. And I'm sure you get the same thing. I'm sure like people ask you about Instagram, they ask you about Facebook, they ask you about TikTok. But like your main thing is Twitter. And you put so much time into your blue arrow of Twitter that now you have more juice and power and energy and help to make other arrows and make those just as good as your first blue arrow. But until you have one great thing, you're not going to have 10 great. That's the way I thought about it. You can't have 10 great things if you don't have one great thing.
Yeah, like what Tom's referring to, it's this video content alignment, as in like the more you deviate from what you said you were going to talk about, the less powerful your content is. And the example I gave was about this ghostwriter. On that video, you can see it on the YouTube. It's this ghostwriter saying he helps people only monetize, not grow their account. And he's telling people, okay, this is the blue arrow, right? I'm going to talk about monetization. But then he shared a testimonial on growth and likes and comments. So I told him, you're drawing a red arrow to somewhere else and then a green arrow to somewhere else. And you might feel like that gives you depth, but it actually limits the power that people have about you. Like on my bio, I actively tell you, if you want to grow, don't follow me. Like follow somebody else. I cannot, will not, and do not want to help you. But if you just want to do this thing, it's just easier, right? And then what that does is like people start like associating you with one thing. It's like you're filling a gap. Like there's a lot of people we have like a bunch of fitness coaches, right? But then when people realize that you did knees on the Slack, they were like, oh my God, my knees are fucked. And it's like, let's talk, right? Because when you associate yourself to one thing, and I really like Jack Butcher's depiction of this. He says, instead of trying to be something to everyone, you're everything to someone. Mm-hmm. You know? So you want to know what Eddie said when you joined the Slack? He was like, is there like a Tom for back pain? Like I need a Tom for back pain.
That's what we want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tom, is there a Tom for back pain actually? Or like for any physical therapy, dude, like if you could talk to other physical therapists, I feel like this is a good opportunity to be like to talk about one pain. Like it works.
Exactly. And speaking of pain, when you are physically in pain, you don't make great decisions. Your scope of thinking is limited, and it's like, I need help. Who am I going to go to? And you could probably only think of like one or two options, and it's like, is Tom that option? Because if you just talk about knee pain over and over and over and over and over again, and you come up with knee pain, you're gonna think of Tom, and that's what you want. And you can do that. If you don't know, if that doesn't make sense, like, think of like any other like product in your life. Think of like a computer, think of a car, think of like a sweatshirt. What is like the first company that comes to your mind? They probably did that one thing super well for a long period of time before they branched out. So you really have the whole like the riches are in the niches thing. It's really hard to limit to one thing, but when you just focus on that one thing, all these other opportunities come up and people start coming to you, which makes it way easier. It's way easier when people are like, hey, like, fix my problem, versus you always having to outreach. And until you do that, you're just gonna be stuck in the generalist pool.
I was listening to my First Million podcast the other day, and they said something I really like. They invited somebody to talk. I'm missing the name, but he said, you don't want people to compare, you want people to choose. So if you're a fitness coach, right, or you're a physical therapist, like, what are the prices, right? Or like, what does he do that the other guy doesn't? Which one requires me to go to the gym less? But between you, it's like, it's like you either fix it or not. It's either knees or not knees.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's just like what you said. First, like, if you don't have knee pain, like, my page probably isn't interesting to you. But if you do, you're gonna be on it every day. Like, this helped. This tidbit helped. Oh wow, he helped that person. Oh wow, he's helping all these people. Oh wow, this tweet talks to me. I feel like he's talking to me. He can help me. And you do that over, and that's the other thing. You just have to keep doing over and over and over and over and over again. And it gets a little, it can get stagnant. But you have to realize not everyone sees every single tweet of yours. You can write the same tweet.
When you say stagnant, is it because you don't grow too much, or like you just like get bored?
No, because as human beings, like, the shiny object comes in. Like, oh, I want to talk about, like, I can treat ankles super well. I can help your shoulder in like a few, like, I can do things super well outside of my niche, but I can't focus on those things right now because it's taking away from the goal. The goal is to get that blue arrow bigger and longer. And I have to focus on one thing to do that with the power and the energy and the help and the tools that I have. So I think the stagnant is just keep talking about knee pain, knee pain, knee pain, knee pain. And I get tired of it before my audience does. But you just have to keep doing it. You just have to keep showing up. You have to keep doing it. And that's when you do it long enough, you're going to get great at it. But most people are like, oh, 6 months, like, I'm out.
If you don't mind me asking, how many followers do you get every day?
Oh my gosh. So here's the other thing. About Like St. Cash, my follower increase has gone down a little bit like the last few weeks. But I've signed 4 new clients. And in the past, that would have made me really upset. No one's liking my stuff. No one's following me. I'm not blowing up on social. Guess what? I got 4 clients at my new price point. And that makes me way happier.
Is it very little? Can you disclose how many you're getting? Like, no, not clients, but like followers. I think I want to make a point here.
Yeah, no, like, I'll pull it up here.
Oh,
so usually I get like 300 a month. That's like a very standard, typical month for me. This month I have 30 new followers. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? The old me would have been like, I'm like abandoned it, like different game plan. But when you are posting to the right people, like, you own, like, my business, I only need a few dozen people to make my life awesome. I don't need 1 million people. So if you're doing the right things, that follower increase matters less.
What Marcos said on the call I really liked, which was, your bio is so unattractive to everybody who doesn't have knee pain. Like, they don't care about you.
No,
right?
it's just like move on by. Yeah, you are not, if this was like the entertainment world, like, see you later. But if you can't go downstairs because your knee hurts, or you missed your last basketball game, or you can't play with your kids, and you see my stuff, you're going to stop and scroll and scroll and scroll, and all this dopamine's going to hit because you know there's a way for you to change your life. And the difference between where you are now and where you want to go is me. And if you keep following me and you keep working with me, you're going to fill that gap.
I want to get a little technical here. So people follow you, they're engaging with your stuff. What's the process to go from, and we can, let's reveal everything except for the tweets and client scripts. But what's the process to go from follower to paying the invoice?
Yeah, so when someone follows me, I usually reach out and ask them like, hey, like, or like if, let's say like I know they're a runner, they have a picture of their runner, like, hey, like, thanks for the follow, like, how's your running been lately? And they'll tell me a little story. And then I'll ask, like, are you having any troubles with knee pain? And it's usually a yes. Like, okay, like, let's talk about that. So they tell me like what they've been through. They usually tried a few things, doesn't really work. And I'm like, okay, like, what are you missing out in life? Like, what's the gap that you have right now? And how does that make you feel? And when you're working in like the health and fitness space, a lot of it is emotional. Like, what are you missing out on? How do you feel about your knee? How do you feel about your weight loss? How do you feel about going to the gym or not going? A lot of it is emotions and feelings. And that's when the people, they open up, they talk about things that's been bothering them for months or even years. And in that emotion, they realize they need to make change. And they need to be pushed that 10% to like, hey, I think I can help you. Let's jump on a call. And when they jump on the call, then we can really talk about like what's going on. Why aren't you taking action? What's preventing you from hitting your goals? What things have you tried? And so many people, and this is frustrating for me, so many people with rehab have had bad experiences because their therapist didn't listen to them. You and I talked about this. Like, therapists didn't take it super serious. They didn't give them the right stuff. They're outdated. They didn't have access to them. So we talk about all of that. And in that conversation, they usually realize, like, Tom's the right fit for me. I want to work with Tom. This is easy to start. There's going to be a couple challenging things, but it's all very doable. And usually, like, the conversation sells itself. And they kind of know, like, yes or no. So then when I ask for the sale, it's usually yes. We get started the next day. And then we take off and running from there. So that's usually what the typical, like, and that can take, it's really awesome when, like, well, I'll take you, for example. You sign up for a call, like, on a Friday. We had a call on Monday, and we got started Monday. So the process is so quick. And in the current healthcare system, nothing is quick. And people just really appreciate when you get back to them right away, you get started right away, you give them a plan. And I think that's just like a huge separator right now for what I do.
One of the things I like the most about how you ran that sales call were how you made the pain larger and how you handled my objection. So there was one point specifically. So I did try PT in the past, and I said I didn't take it seriously, and then I kept talking, but you stopped me. And you said, so why is now different? Remember? And I was like, stumbled for like a bit, and I'm like, actually, yeah, why is now different? Like, good point, right? So I had to explain to you why now. So I really like that. And I'll let you cover the second one, which was, do you remember my objection and why you handled it the way you handled it?
I forget exactly what you said.
So the objection was, okay, so you haven't seen an MRI from me. How can you be so sure that you can help?
Yeah. So this is a common issue for a lot of people, and I kind of related back to you. Like, you haven't seen the inside of my business. How do you know you can help me? And when you create a system that works for so many people, and you have the ability to intervene when need be, to motivate when need be, to make changes, to work with them one-on-one, you have this system in place. You have this long, like we both have this now, this long history of clients who have had success. Like, you know it's going to work. You just got to figure out how it's going to work for that person. So for most people, to go back to specifically knee pain, like, yeah, like, you might have something in your knee that's not 100%, but guess what? Most people do. And most people who don't have knee pain have something wrong with their knee they just don't know about. So there's not a direct correlation between what your MRI shows and what your symptoms are be. Just like for you, there's not always a direct correlation to how many followers you have and how much money your business is making. And I loved when I made that connection, because people get so tied up into, like when I have like a tweet that gets like some decent likes, people, oh, like you're doing awesome. Yeah, but it didn't give me any clients. So who really wins there, right? And the same thing with MRI. It's like, oh, I have a little bit of arthritis in the outside of my knee. And I was like, yeah, you're not like you, but you're 65. You're going to have some arthritis. That doesn't mean you just shut down life and have a surgery. Like, there are things we can do to make your knee better without having surgery or injections or giving up volleyball in your case.
You also said something that I really like, which was, if you look at an MRI from me, I'm fucked, but I don't have knee pain. So I guess that's not the answer, is it? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, it's like both of those occasions you made me realize it for myself. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm sure you're the same when you get a client who has like like for me, like I had 4,000 some followers when I joined. Not a red flag to you. Like, I have good stuff. I'm willing to work. I'm willing to listen, and you can give me results. Like, you're just judging the wrong metric. Like the MRI, it's a piece. Sometimes it's a big piece. You tear your ACL and you need surgery. Yeah, that's a big piece. But you have this like small little swelling on the outside of your knee. Come on, that's like me on a good day, man. You're gonna be fine.
I like that. I wanted to talk about whale hunting. On yesterday's call, something popped up that I really liked with you two. You and John, actually. So it was cool to see John too. He mentioned, so John is like this sleep expert, right? So he mentioned that a lot of his clients, they wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a recurring thing. I don't know why. So he said he tweeted about it. And then this is when he proceeded to like flex on all of us on the call. And you remember that?
He did. Oh my gosh. I was like,
yeah. We're like, holy shit. So he tweeted about it. And then below he said, if you're struggling with sleep, send me a DM. Yeah. He's like, guys, I have too many leads. I don't know what to do to follow up with them. I have no time. Help. And everybody on the call is just like, dude, shut up. Like, come on.
Like, you can't relate. And that's why I was asking him questions. I'm like, wow, he seems like a busy guy. I'm going to throw in a couple of questions here because I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
But he does it in a great way. He's figured it out. Like, most people, when they talk about sleep, they're like, sleep 8 hours, like no phones in the bedroom. They just regurgitate the same thing over and over and over. And it's like, okay, like we get that. That's not helpful. Like, telling people to sleep 8 hours doesn't help because they already know that. It's not different. It's not new. It's not actionable. But he talks about, like, here are some things you can do that are a little bit different that you might not have heard before, and here's the why. And then he just, like, his threads are amazing because he just, like, and I follow his email list too. And you do a good job of this as well. His emails make it seem like he's talking to you. Like, I know your problem because I've worked with people like you before. And here are some little nuggets that's going to be, oh, this was a good idea. I'm going to try it. It worked. Here's a client, like, here's a testimonial. Oh, that guy looks like me. He's got 4,000 followers. Like, and then it just rolls from there.
You did that a few times on this podcast, actually. You did that thing about, like, specificity, letting people know that you're talking to them. You didn't say knee pain. You said it's really annoying when you go down these stairs. Like, that's right. Specific, right? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, today I went down the stairs and it was fucking ugly, right? Yep. And then you said another one, which was you worked with a physical therapist, but neither of you really took it seriously. Mm-hmm. And then you said a third one, which was the hospital system takes way too long. Like, everything is slow. Like, me, as somebody who has knee pain, I felt those three hard, right? And it's like, I've heard other people talk about PT, but it's the depth of the understanding that gets people to be like, Tom's my guy.
And you know how, as like the person running the show, how you figure out those problems? It goes back to niching down into one problem. Because you talk to 100 people with knee pain and you keep hearing the same problems over and over. I can't go downstairs. I can't get into my therapist. Like my MRI shows this. You just keep hearing it and it's like, okay. That's how you figure out what the problems are, and then you talk to the problems. You don't talk to the solution, because guess what? There's gonna be days where you wake up and you're not gonna care about your knee pain. It's like, oh, it's fine, I'll live with it. Oh, I'll just avoid. But you talk about the things that the emotional part. Like, I want to go play volleyball again. I want to go run a marathon. I want to run downstairs without thinking about my knee. You talk about those issues, and it strikes. Like for you, it's like, hey, like I'm gonna talk about your business, not making money, and that hurt. It's like, wow, like that's what I need right now.
Yeah,
So
like for me, it's like this guy has less followers than you. He's making more money than you. How do you feel? It's like it sucks.
Because every day I'm gonna want to make money, but there's not gonna be every day where I'm gonna want more followers. So if I hired you to or another coach to make me more followers, there's days where I don't really care. All right, $5,000, great, enough followers. But it's like when you talk about money, when you talk about business, when you talk about improving the client experience, I'm gonna want those every day, because those are more emotional, because I'm tying my career, my well-being, and I can do fun things when I make more money.
For the people listening, maybe they're in a similar they're like in a health offer, right? So like,
Yeah.
how do you split your content? And if you could give like ballpark numbers, as in what percentage is like pain related, what percentage is like value, what percentage is testimonials? If you could speak to that, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. So one of the best things that you've talked about lately is like show versus tell, right? And if you if you did this in elementary school, like you have show and tell. People can bring something in and show you, like their pet or a drawing they did, or they can like tell you a story. And unfortunately, most people aren't great storytellers, so the story is like not as good. But if you bring in like a pet dog, or if you bring in like a really cool drawing, like everyone's gonna be attracted to that. So when you show people what you do, it resonates way better, because they see, oh, Sarah got out of knee pain. Sarah is a mom. She has 2 kids. She likes to run. I identify as Sarah, versus Tom just saying like, if you have knee pain, do these 3 things. It's like, you don't identify as well with that. So I've done a lot more kind of testimonial, or here are my client experiences, and I've really honed in on that. So that's like most of what I tweet about now. Another part is just talking about things that people might not have heard before in rehab. So I'll talk about like, your MRI doesn't define you, or you don't need to rest in ice to heal an injury, or here are 3 exercises you might never have tried about. You still need to put those nuggets out there, because it makes you, oh, that's interesting, I haven't heard that, let me check out his profile. Oh, here's the 30 clients he's had success with, here's a thread he wrote on all of them. Oh, like here's the other people that he interacts with, and they buy into your system. And then I think like I'm still human. I still find tweets from the past that did really well, and I'll retweet those, and I'll get a lot of likes, and it'll make me feel good. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of that engagement part, where it's like, hey, I know this is going to do well, or here's like something funny that is. There's always like a little part. So it's not like you're just a robot again. But when you focus on what you've done, who you've helped, and how are you different and not necessarily better than other people in your space, that's what really changed for me in the last 6 weeks, and I found to be much better for my business, which is the whole goal.
Let's get deep into that. You mentioned something I really liked. He said people resonate with content when you've already done the things way more. And why do you think that is? I have my own theories, but why do you think that is, like, specifically?
Like when you've had like client successes before?
Like you mentioned showing instead of telling. Like, what do you think it resonates way more?
So I think when I started working with you, you had all these like YouTube videos, and you were just showing like, here's what David did, here's what Sean did, here's what Joanna did, and you just showed it over and over and over again, and you showed where they were, and then you showed what they become. And when you show where they were, like, it's easy for me to identify that. I can't identify with someone making $10 million a year, because I'm not there yet. But I can identify as someone who has 4,000 followers. So when you see yourself in that person, it's way easier to go, oh, here I started where they are. I can do that same transformation, and I can get to. So I think it's the identification piece, that emotional piece. You can connect with another human who is in the same spot you were. I think we're just a lot better about that. Is that what you think when you post that stuff?
A little bit. I think it's like people have this weird perception of what value is. Value can be many things, right? So there's
Yeah.
like info value and then there's belief value. So, for example, the college, great at info value, right? They gave you all the statistics, they gave you all the theorems and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So they give you a lot of information. A lot of people on Twitter give you a lot of information, but I feel like the guys that are making the most on Twitter, they shift to not info value but belief value. They make you believe that there is something else than what you're currently experiencing, right? So you could give a lot of info value, do X, Y, Z exercises, and
Yeah.
like the exercises you gave me are not exactly different from the ones you post. Like I've seen you post similar exercises, right? I'm like,
Right.
oh, Spanish squats, I see it, right?
Yeah.
But like, the value for me, the biggest one was making me believe I could get back on the court. I'm like, oh my god, that did so much for me.
Right.
Instead of giving people info value, belief value. Uh, I haven't thought about this concept too much, but I just feel like you're really good at that and making people believe like maybe I don't have to experience this forever.
So this ties really well into the rehab world because there's some therapists who are super smart. They know everything about the human body. They know every research study, but they don't get people to believe because they're just so structured and robotic. And then you have these other therapists who are, you could objectively be like, they're not great therapists. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't get the best exercises, but they get people to believe in the process, and they just crush it out there. And the robots, like the sciencey, nerdy, like can't relate to others. They get really frustrated. It's like, how is this guy, like the knees over toes guy? He does super well. Some people really get upset with it, but then the day is like he gets people to believe in his philosophies and what he does, and that's awesome for him. And I'm trying to do the same thing.
I think you can do it, man. I think it's
Yeah.
because like the specificity of your profile. Like, there's 5,000 people following you. That's also 10,000 fucked up knees you can fix, It's like very simple because you're not going to follow a knee rehab guy if you don't want that. So I feel a lot of people talk about follower attraction, but I'm also a big believer in follower repelling. You don't want people who are not like qualified. This reminds you of Marco's story. So there's this app, right? And I'm the only one who can say this. I'm not the only one who can say this, but I am qualified to say this because I am from a third world country, right? So there you go in that. So I am from a third world country, and there's an app that it's called geotargetly.com. It allows you to repel other third world country people from any country you want, right? So you can choose that and only target like the countries that make the most money.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Marcos, the coach right at TC Clients, one of the coaches, and I asked him, "Do you use GeoTargetly?" He's like, "I used to, but I don't do it anymore." I'm like, "Why?" Right? Like they can't buy, and he's like, "Because somebody who is from a third world country would never relate to my content." That's what he said. I'm like, I like that because his content is so high level. It's so whale bait.
Yeah.
Right? And for you, it's like your whale is somebody with fucked up knees. It's like if I have a bad wrist, I don't care about your content. Like you don't need to repel me, right? So I just really like that section.
You know when you go on an airplane and they have like the speech at the beginning of it and they talk about the oxygen mask and it's like when they come down you have to put yours on first before you help other people.
Yeah.
So with your business, if you can't help yourself, you can't help other people. So if you're not making money, you're not growing, you're not taking care of yourself, you can't help all these other people that you want to help. So you really have to focus on those whales to start. Because you don't have any whales, you don't have a business. You don't have business, you can't help anybody, including yourself. So that really changed too, where it's like, I'm trying to help everybody that has knee pain. It's like, no, I'm going to help the very specific people first. So when I can, then I can branch out more. Again, you have to go narrow to go wide.
Do you plan to branch out in the future?
Yeah, so there's things like podcasts, ebooks, different social medias. I can do more of that. But if that's all I do right now, like I'm helping a lot of people, I'm not helping myself. I did over 150 podcast episodes. And those probably help me now a little bit. People listen to old ones, things like that. But I wasn't making money from them. And that's when I shifted. When I started doing more YouTube videos, more tweets, just getting more clients. I can go back to the podcasting. But until I'm putting my oxygen mask on first, like I can't help other people. And some people, they see that selfish. Like, oh, you're only focusing on like getting new clients and growing your business. Yeah, like the plane's crashing and I need my oxygen mask.
Yeah,
like,
that's the goal.
It's until that's your goal, like you're not going to realize like this is what I have to do first to branch out and help others.
Is there a number that you're like, at this level I'm going to branch out? Curious.
No, because it's more of like a time thing. It's like more of a, do I have more time to do this stuff?
I see.
Am I using my time the way I want to? Because some of the stuff I do, like I love doing podcasts with people. Like you get to talk to them, you get a free hour with them, you get to pick their brain. So I don't know if it's even it's more of like a time freedom thing than a money thing.
I see. You know what I'm excited about? People are going to listen to this podcast. I'm going to be the lower back guy. I'm going to be the shoulder guy. Yeah, why not, right?
We need those. There's so many opportunities. You have, like 5 years ago, I wasn't on Twitter. And you focus on not growing your Twitter, but making money on Twitter. It's such a specific thing. And 5 years ago, like, I wouldn't care about you at all. Because guess what? I didn't have Twitter. But now I do. Now I care about everything you say because you're talking to me. And people, like, you win in those specific, like, you be specific, that's how you win. And you have to be disciplined to be specific. Because guess what? Like, today I rolled my ankle playing basketball. Do you know how bad I want to tweet about rolled ankles and not using ice and things like that on my Twitter? Like, I just want to go on that all day and say, like, oh, here's what I did. Here's how I helped myself. Here's why these other things are bad. But I'm not adding fuel to the right fire. And you need to get that big fire first. You need to get that oxygen mask on first. And I'm sure you went through that same process at some point in your
Dude, 1,000%. Like, it'll be so easy for me to launch a growth offer. Because I have 200K, right? It'll be so easy. Like, so easy. But to me, it's like, I don't want that because I want to be... I could feel shoulders, but a knee guy doesn't fix shoulders. A knee guy fixes knees. And, like, long term, that will make me more money. And it's the discipline of staying, like, consistent. I always bring up this example. SEO Keval Shah, he does SEO, right? And, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how you manage to talk about SEO for 3 years straight every day. Like, it's so boring to me, but the guy crushes it. He's making like 200K from Twitter with like 40K followers. He just crushes it, right? 200K a month, by the way, not yearly, but like monthly. And it's amazing. And like, he's limiting himself. He could do more. He's like, nah, I'm pretty good with the clients I have now. Crushes it. But it's like, it's not that people have, I told this on the call, you don't really have a content problem. You have a content discipline problem. You can't stay on the blue arrow. You can't do one thing. And I would love to talk about growth, bro. You're like the amount I delete more tweets than I send because I want to talk about like all these like weird shit that happens during my day because I just find it so interesting. But I'm like, it doesn't make money, so we do not post it.
You had 2 tweets lately. I thought you were getting off course because you're talking about Mother's Day, and then you're talking about like
the customs officer.
The customs, yeah. And I'm like, oh, here's a personal tweet, like, and then you just loop it into likes and cash. I'm like, oh, he got me on that one. That's great. That's all he thinks about. Even on Mother's Day, he's thinking about how do I make a likes and cash tweet.
Yeah, the for people listening, it's like it was Mother's Day, and I wanted to buy flowers for my mom. So I didn't know it would be that expensive. So I took $20 to the store and they're like, hey, sir, it's going to be $25. I'm like, I don't have $25, but I had a tweet that went viral once. It's like, sir, likes in cash, right? So that was kind of the joke. You loop it in. Yeah. You know what's also interesting about podcasts is I also got this from my first million. It's like sometimes the goal is not to be well known, but known well. So I did 2 podcasts recently, one with Danny Miranda and the other one with Andre Haikal in Stick Talk podcast. And we didn't talk much Twitter. We just went like really personal. And I feel like people gave a shit because they knew I've already done other things, so they wanted to see the personal side, which ties back to what you said. People want to know that you're good at one thing in order for them to give a shit about the other things you do. So it's like you prove competence first and you show vulnerability second. Oh, I'm tweeting that. You know?
Use that. You talk about this all the time. It's the messenger, not the message. And you see this on Twitter because, I don't know, we'll take like Elon. He'll say, today's a great day. And it's 10,000 likes. It's like, what? Like, if I post that, it gets 0 likes. Like, but it's Elon, not me. And you don't have to be like Elon. You don't have to be Jeff Bezos. You don't have to be Serena Williams. You don't have to be, but you have to be what you do. You have to be awesome at it. And if you're awesome at it, you can start doing all that other stuff. Like, you're trying to, I gotta think of a really good, I like analogies a lot. Like, you're trying to.
I have one for this one. I have one for this one. Yeah, I feel like they became the best in the world by addition, as in like they got more stuff in. You became the best in the world by subtraction. You're still a king of 100% of a niche, but it's albeit smaller niche. But it's like you're not in the how big of a niche game. You're in the how much of a percentage of a niche can you capture game. Mm-hmm. So you became the best in the world by subtraction, and that still makes you the best in the world. But sometimes people's egos can't take that.
I have another good story here. So the fuel to my fire was there's this guy, he's more on Instagram, but he's also on Twitter. His name's Jake Tura. And all he talks about is jumper's knee, which is pain in your patellar tendon when you do a lot of jumping. So basketball players and volleyball players get a lot of it. And he's a strength and conditioning coach. He's made a few like ebooks. He posts a lot of videos, things like that. But his ebooks are awesome. Like, he cites a lot of research. He has like super good exercises. And when you look at it, it's like, you must be like the best rehab therapist in the world. And he's similar. He's a strength and conditioning coach, but he's not a physical therapist. And I'm like, if this guy is crushing it and he's a strength and conditioning coach, like, shame on me for not putting myself out there more, niching down more. Like, it's like sharing everything that I've learned and know. Like, he just like sped by me on a different, like, he's on a bike and I'm on a motorcycle, and he's just working harder because he niched down and he just shares everything that he's learned to know. So that really put fuel in my fire. And I think he has like the greatest stuff. I love his stuff. I comment on it all the time. So when you see other people doing more with different opportunities, it really like fuels you. Like, hey, like, I can do like more of this. Like, I should be. Like, I went to college for 7 years. Like, I have all this knowledge, all this education, all these experiences. Why am I not sharing with it? So if you don't know what to niche down on, or if you don't know like what to talk about, like, figure out what you do. What are you good at? What have you done the last 10 years? And start sharing that stuff.
Banger. I want to end this episode really quick with, Tom, what are some like quick little tips that people can implement for knees? I'm me being really like selfish here, but like, how can somebody fix up their fucked up knees? Because I'm surprised at how many people have knee problems.
Yeah. So there's this concept in rehab and training. It's called FID. It's frequency, intensity, duration. You can talk about with running, you can talk about with exercise, you can talk about with strength training. So most people screw up these 3 variables, and it screws up their whole rehab. So first of all, frequency. Most people don't do it often enough. You know, they're like once a week, and then they're 7 times a week, and then they're 3 times a week. Be consistent with your frequency. It doesn't matter if it's 2, 3, or 7 days a week. You just need to be consistent. Second one is intensity. Most people go to exercise, they do a couple easy exercises, and they wonder why their knee never gets better. You don't have to squat like 800 pounds or do like these crazy lifts, but the ones you are doing, like, are you focused? Are you intent? Are you doing the best possible with it? And then the third one's duration. People try it for a week or 2, and I didn't get better, I'm going to skip, move on. Like, change takes time. Like, it takes 9 months to make a baby. You can't make a baby in 4.5 months. Like, it's not possible. If you try harder or do it making a baby makes time. Like, rehab takes a little bit of time. So that's why if you get the frequency right, you get the intensity right, you find a few exercises, squats, lunges, deadlifts that aren't painful to your knees, and that comes with trial and error, or working with a knee rehab specialist like myself. it makes that like it makes it way easier to do that. So frequency, intensity, duration, you get those 3 variables right. Most people do, and the hard part is people can't get them right on their own. They need someone to hold them accountable. And I know that sounds like I'm selling myself, but you see it time and time again. You can go on the internet and find all the exercises in the world, but if you're not doing the right frequency, intensity, duration, because you don't know what that looks like, you're gonna end up getting lost again and again and again. You're gonna be tweeting for engagement and not for cash.
That's my guy. Hopefully you enjoyed that Likes and Cash podcast. Thank you for listening. If you want to grow your audience, I'm not your guy. But if you want to monetize your audience, welcome.